Anthony Davis and Harden seem like pretty good options if they're able to slide. What
Man,
about
if
you, Nate?
Davis slides to fifth, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, who
Very
knows?
possible.
That
It's true. I don't know, man. I might get a little nuts and go crazy on Towns for number 5.
go. Take it easy.
Just the
That's
sky is the limit for Anthony Towns. That'd be
the
pretty
thing is,
awesome.
I think you'd be able to get him maybe second round next year. I mean, I don't know how high he's gonna climb.
That's true. Yeah, number 10. I think number 10 is like auto draft Carl Anthony Towns. And
Sounds
then
about
Jimmy
right.
Butler. Something like that.
10 and 11th pick, Jimmy Towns. Build your team around that.
Yeah. Maybe I'll volunteer to pick 10th next year. Maybe that's what I'll just do. And I'll just have that in the pocket.
Can't do it.
All right,
Can't do it. Damn.
welcome to the Chi-Town Fantasy Basketball Podcast, the triumphant return after a brief hiatus. We are joined tonight by myself, Smokey Rivers, and you can find our old broadcast and new broadcast at youtube.com/user/SmokeyRivers1. And I am joined by Danny and Nate this week. How are you cats doing?
Solid.
Pretty good. Excited to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. That's good to hear. You guys play ball this weekend or no?
I'm getting old. You know, now our games of ball are watching little blips on our box scores go up and down. That's
Can't do back-to-back weeks. You got to rest a little. I've been playing at work. It's been pretty good. So
Oh, really? Saturday morning?
Saturday mornings, but I mean, it's just the J wasn't there today.
Damn.
Yeah, couldn't replicate. Couldn't be the third Splash brother.
Oh, gosh. Never.
All right, so yeah, we'll talk a little fantasy basketball as we always do, and perhaps a little real basketball, and the intersection between the two. So we'll start off with yet another trade that went down in our league, and luckily it featured two relatively comparably good players and two players that are very close to the top. The trade was Draymond Green for Paul George. Dun 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 dun. That's right.
Yeah.
Green for Paul George. So on the ESPN player rater, Draymond Green is currently 10th. He snuck up a little bit with a triple-double yesterday, and Paul George is 16th. Trying to see what he actually played tonight. He was not super great shooting. It was 3 of 15 for only 11 points, but he did chip in the other categories with 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and a three-pointer. But
That's like a bad Draymond game.
that's like a bad. They're very similar players. I'm not even sure the trade was intentional. They probably just said, oh wait, that's like the other guy. He's like the same guy, and we just go like, which one? I don't know. They're pretty similar players in certain ways. So I'm having, for those of us who are having a hard time differentiating between the two, what would you guys have to say about who got the better end of the deal?
Well, I think when you're dealing with two players that are very comparable in terms of player rater, I think it comes down to team needs. You have to look at what each player gives you versus what the other takes away. So if you look at Paul George, field goal percentage is going to take a hit, but you're going to get more threes. His turnovers also tend to be worse. Free throw percentage is better, and then you go to Draymond, who gives you a lot of assists for big. Free throw percentage is questionable. Less turnovers, better field goal. So, I mean, both players, they're comparable. I would say just by that, the trade is even, and then ultimately it just comes down to one of the players in our league was tanking assist already, so what's the point of having Draymond? Instead, why don't you fortify other categories that you're going after and go after Paul George? So, since both teams were pretty much addressing their needs and exchanging comparable players, I thought was a pretty good deal for both.
Yeah, Lynn had remarked on several occasions that he was tanking assists, and he rued the fact that Draymond broke out in that category. Um, it probably would have been nicer if he had broken out in blocks or steals for his purposes. But yeah, if you look at his roster, other point guards, Kyrie Irving and Jordan Clarkson, not big assist guys.
The second
Kyrie,
best point guard is Jordan Clarkson.
Last year, Kyrie was already only averaging 5. He's generally been not a huge assist point guard, which never stopped him from being a top 15 player, but he's never been a big assist guy. And Jordan Clarkson last year was averaging more down the stretch, but still on the air was only at 3.5, and this year he's down at 2.5. So, yeah, Draymond's 7.5 assists a game were just going to waste. So, solid trade for Lynn, shoring up some other categories. Not a terrible trade for Xavier either. He had a team that's generally pretty solid at field goal percentage. He's got Andre Drummond, Dwight Howard, Greg Monroe, and Paul George's 42% on huge attempts is kind of a fly in the ointment there. So the trade made sense for him too, I would say. But, I'm just one guy. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of versatility, I think Draymond for basically any other second-round pick is a solid trade. I mean, he can get you in every category, and it's true that free throw is not that great, but effectively Draymond Green doesn't he doesn't hurt you in really anything. I think basically it comes down to whether you want kind of a typical all-star shooter of that one team who shoots all the time, not a great field goal, but can kind of give you some elite numbers, versus a glue guy. I mean, I think Draymond is the perfect example of a glue guy. I'd say he's I don't know, if Paul Millsap was that awesome in his prime and didn't score as much, I think he'd be like a rich man's Paul Millsap. I don't know. It's hard to compare anybody when you have someone who's basically, I don't know, effectively almost averaging a triple-double, and then gives you blocks, and then gives you steals, and then shoots a couple threes a game. So I think overall I like the fact that Draymond can't hurt you and is solid. So I think that Xavier got the better half of the deal.
Okay, yeah, and that's fair. That's also fair too. One other thing that came into my mind in looking at this trade is what's going to happen the rest of the season. We're already more than halfway through the season, and for fantasy purposes, we are fairly close to the playoffs. So you have Draymond Green, who's on the Warriors. They're winning at a historic pace, and with them, you're running the risk of, if they have the number 1 seed locked up with a month left, they might start resting guys willy-nilly. On the other hand, you have Paul George, who's coming off a season where he didn't play until the very end of the year because he broke his darn leg over the summer before. And it's been reported recently that he is dealing with fatigue, and he could see his minutes reduced. So with both guys,
details.
There's a little bit of a risk of playing time being reduced at a crucial time in the fantasy playoffs. Do you guys, between the two of them, to me it seems like it's not a super big concern. I still would want to own Paul George or Draymond Green. I wouldn't trade them at a discount if I owned them, but it is a concern. For either of these guys with those situations described, do you think one situation is more dire than the other?
Well, I mean, one has an injury history, and so if they both have a chance of being rested, potentially from different reasons, but also because it's the end of the season, and one broke his leg in what apparently everyone says is also a horrific accident. I mean, I think that team would not want to see that happen again, especially with their star player. I mean, the Pacers have a good future potentially, but they're not, they're not an all-star team by any means. So it might be in their best interest to keep them healthy for as long as possible.
Yeah, I think the fact that, I mean, Smokey, you make a good point with them locking it up early, but the only thing that I guess is good for people who own Warriors players like me, who own Steph Curry, is the fact that they do seem to be entertaining the idea of going after 73 games. That might keep them uh, keeping their foot on the gas pedal and just trying to maybe go all out. And something you have to think about is that even though they've been playing their stars most games, they haven't been playing heavy minutes due to the blowouts. So I don't think really they're going to be that concerned about resting their players because they're all playing in the low 30s. I don't think any of them are kind of getting worn out. To me, I think the bigger issue is we have a couple weeks left in the season. The schedules can fluctuate. So I think one of the key factors is you kind of have to look at each player's playoff schedule and the schedule at least like for the next couple games and kind of see how the games shake out. I was taking a look at some players on my team and I know Golden State has one of the more favorable schedules coming up. They have a lot of 4-game weeks coming up playoff time, and that could play a big role. Now, with Xavier locking up almost a playoff seed this week, if he has Draymond with 4-game weeks throughout, that's going to be huge versus Paul George's schedule is solid, but not as good. I see a couple 3-games week here and there.
Does he have a 2-gamer?
No 2-gamers. Aside from this week, which Draymond and the Warriors happen to have a 2-game week. But after this, I think it's going to be 4-gamers almost throughout.
Yikes.
Right, and possibly an underrated aspect there for Lin. He's clawing just to get into the playoffs, and unfortunately Draymond has a 2-game week, and for us this is the second and the last week before the playoffs. So as good as Draymond is, it's better to get even 3 games or definitely 4 games of most other players. So Paul George is a 4-game week this week, so that's going to come in pretty handy as he tries to hang in there. But for X, he pretty much is guaranteed a playoff spot barring disaster, and so that didn't matter as much to him, Draymond having a 2-game week this week.
Yeah, he benched him.
Yeah, he didn't even start him this week, which I think was fine. Let's take a look at X's team just so we can break down that decision a little bit. But I remember looking at it before, and I think I would have probably done the same thing. So this week, X started the following players with 4-game weeks: Tobias Harris, Andre Drummond, Ryan Anderson, John Wall, Miles Turner, Drew Holiday, and Dwayne Wade, and Greg Monroe and C.J. McCollum, who had 3-game weeks. So basically, you're deciding, would I rather have 2 games of Draymond or 4 of Miles Turner? Or would I rather have 2 of Draymond or 3 of Greg Monroe?
What about Drew? How many did Drew have?
Well, he didn't start Drew.
I might have done 2 games of Draymond over 3 games of Monroe.
You would have gone for 2 of...
Probably, I think so. Well, I don't know how Monroe.
Well, consider, ironically, Lin and X, who just made this trade, are going up against each other.
Oh.
And as a slap in the face, he benched Draymond. I could beat you without that trade.
Well, think about it. Well, Lin's tanking assists, and now he's really tanking assists because he doesn't have Draymond. And X already has John Wall. And he did start Drew Holiday. I don't know why I said that. Drew Holiday had 4 games, by the way.
Okay.
And he played 27 minutes tonight and shot 1 of 14, but you can't predict that. The point being, X already has John Wall and Drew Holiday, and Lin is terrible at assists, so he didn't really need the assist from Draymond. Greg Monroe's going to get more rebounds in 3 games than Draymond will into more points, better field goal percentage. Blocks probably give the edge to Draymond, but that extra game for Monroe helps.
Yeah.
So
I guess
that's kind of a
depending
wash.
on this matchup, I guess it does make sense. And to say
Yeah.
Lin is tanking assists is an understatement. I'm looking at his team. Nobody on his team averages 4 or more assists.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It's like if Kyrie is out, I think his leading assist guy would be Marc Gasol.
Well, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
Your leading assist guy is a center?
Well, it would be actually Marc Gasol is tied with Kyrie and is actually 0.1 behind Paul George. So there you go.
The
Yeah,
most selfish team on the planet.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that's about the size of it. Yeah, some interesting decisions leading up to the trade deadline and the end of the regular season. So it's good stuff there. For those of you out there who are already eliminated from playoff contention, we did not forget about you. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about next year with some player versus player comparisons and where you would take certain players in the draft next year. And probably, everybody wants to, play the hits, talk about the big guns. We're going to start with Anthony Davis, everybody's favorite disappointment.
Disappointment? There
who's is the most disappointing player to put up a top 5 season in the history of basketball, probably. When so much is expected of you and you come up just short, it's a colossal disappointment, apparently. But he is only 11th on the cumulative player rater due to some injuries. He is 4th if you look at it on a per game basis. But we are trying to decide where he's going next year. He doesn't look like he's going to be a consensus number 1 next year. I think for sure we can say that Steph Curry is going to go ahead of him. And then anybody else, you can definitely make a case one way or the other, but probably he's going to drop a little bit more than that. So what other players do you guys think should be going ahead of Anthony Davis in snake drafts next year?
Durant.
Durant for sure.
I think I would take Durant for sure. With that, he's another guy like I guess even more so than Paul George. He had an off-season injury, and then he was limited. Well, Paul George, he came back at the very end, but he stayed back. Kevin Durant came back, 30 games in or something like that, and then was out again the rest of the year after 20 games or whatever. So, nevertheless, this year didn't miss a beat. I think that's just one of those things that's just going to be kind of a fluke. You're probably not going to comparing him to Anthony Davis if you're worried about injuries. Anthony Davis is losing that argument, right?
Yeah. It's just Anthony Davis, while he hasn't had any serious crazy serious injuries, it's just I feel every time I look at him, it always seems like he has a day-to-day next to his name. Probably the person who owns him, Young, would have a better idea of how many times he's gotten hurt, but I can tell you it's probably been at least 6-7 times this year he's gotten dinged up. And you could shake some off as kind of bad luck, but eventually it starts getting to you. If you're banking your team on somebody, you gotta have them. You can't have them miss a game or two during a week, or that could cost you. And all these top players are proving that Steph Curry's going to go in there. He got hurt, but he's playing through it. He's only missed 2-3 games all year. Durant's playing through it. Harden doesn't seem to miss much time. Kawhi Leonard's going to be there. Westbrook's going to be there. So, you look at all these guys, you can count on them day to day, but Anthony Davis, it's sad because he's so good, but I mean, time after time, it seems like his body's letting him down.
Right.
I
You
mean, it's
mentioned.
like
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think in some ways you'd prefer a player who would just have a big injury and be out for a couple of weeks, so then you can like plan and reconstruct your team, make a couple trades, like get some add drops on the waiver wire, instead of like just like infrequent day to days where like you have him in for a 3 game and it becomes a 2 game, or like a 4 game becomes a 2 game. Like there's a reason like Tim Duncan goes late in the drafts. Like he's a solid player when he plays, but you can't rely on someone who's just like infrequently going out. Just it's not reliable.
Yeah. That is a pain in the tuchus. You mentioned Harden. I think Harden's someone who likely is a lock. I don't want to say a lock, but someone that I would definitely lean towards taking over Anthony Davis at this point. He's turning in this is 4th year in Houston. It's pretty much 4 years of pretty much utter destruction on the offensive end, and enough defensive stats to hide the fact that he's not actually that good of a defender. But from a fantasy standpoint, anyway, Harden's he's having about as good a year as he's had before. The points are up, the defensive stats are down, the field goal percentage down, but the free throws, the crazy free throws, which were already crazy, are even crazier than ever before. So he pretty much is what he is, and he's someone who's never really been hurt for any kind of extended period of time. So that's 3 guys I think we're taking over Anthony Davis. The other 2 I think are more debatable. There's 2 other guys I would say you can discuss taking over Anthony Davis, and then anybody after that I'm less comfortable. The 2 guys for me would be Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook. Now, I guess let's start with Kawhi. Kawhi is someone who's kind of been like Anthony Davis. He's generally missed more contiguous blocks of time when he's injured, but he's also someone who's been a little in and out until this year. He's pretty much been in, except for like I think he's sat out against the Sixers with a fake injury, just because something like that. Are you guys taking Kawhi over Anthony Davis next year?
Dan, you go first. You're the Spurs guy. Come on.
I mean, the Spurs have always had this negative stigma of stay away from the Spurs, especially late in the year. They're going to lock up a good playoff seeding, and they're going to start resting players. But, I mean, Kawhi is still relatively young, so I don't think he's going to get the Manu, the Tony Parker, the Tim Duncan treatment just yet. And what he's been doing has been impressive. And to think that of these guys, like Durant and Harden, they've kind of already reached their peak. I mean, you know what they're going to give you, and it's phenomenal stats. But they're not really going to get much better. But Kawhi Leonard is currently 4th in player rater, and it's scary to think that this guy can actually improve. As he gets more comfortable on the offensive end, I mean, he picks up his scoring a bit. It's game over. This guy is pretty good already. He's a top 4 player, and the fact that he'll get better might be worth taking. I might do it. It'll be tough, but who knows?
Right, and to your point about how the Spurs play or don't play their players, when Tim Duncan was Kawhi's age, he was playing 80 games a season. I'm looking at his basketball reference page. 24, he played 82 games. Age 25, he played 82 games. Age 20,
Nice.
played 81 games. And he was playing, and this was back in the day. You don't see this as he was playing 38 minutes a game, 39 minutes a game those seasons. So I don't think we're going to see that with Kawhi, the 40 minutes a game. But I do think they're gonna get him out there every day. I think he's gonna be, I don't want to say he's Tim Duncan caliber in terms of like his career arc, but he's like clearly a very good player on one of the very best teams in the league. So, what happens to very good players on the best teams in the league who win titles? They end up in the Hall of Fame. But that's a discussion for another day.
Wow. We had mad future with that. Shoot.
Hot take.
Hot take of the day.
I'll go out on a limb. I'll go out on a limb and say that Kawhi Leonard, if somebody offered me even money on Kawhi Leonard making the Hall of Fame, I'd probably take it.
No, for sure.
If he weren't on the Spurs, if he were on if we were on Indiana and he didn't already have a ring, and that team, I guess Indiana would be better. But if he was on a team that wasn't clearly gonna contend every year, I might not take that bet. But what he's done already and where he is, I think I'd take even money. Not saying 100%, but I take even money.
And then I think Daniel, you actually raised up. Also, there's a potential that Tim Duncan might retire, and you might lose a couple players in the Spurs.
Ginobili.
Yeah,
Guy needs to
Ginobili.
go.
Yeah, so for those guys, that empties up a lot of time. That empties up a lot of usage. You're going to need someone to kind of fill that all up. And if the Spurs truly after that, they start to rebuild as well. That means he's going to be the new hero for sure. He already kind of is, but he's going to be the superhero. So, yeah, I think he deserves a nice high spot next year's fantasy.
Yeah, and let's not write off Ginobili too soon. He hasn't. Well, let's see where he is. He's at 122 on the player rater, which is not that great. But considering he doesn't even play 20 minutes a game. That's pretty good. If you look at other people, Jared Bayless is the next guy beneath him. He plays 28 minutes a game. Roy Hibbert's not too far off. He plays 25 minutes a game. Matthew Dellavedova plays 26 minutes a game. Taj Gibson, 26 minutes a game. He's ahead of all those guys at 19 minutes a game. Just with those good percentages, 3 assists. Doesn't sound that great, but it's more than Jordan Clarkson. It's almost as many as Kyrie Irving.
Oh my gosh.
1.2 threes, not that great, but that's more than a Monte Ellis or DeMar DeRozan. So, shout out to Monte.
It was the balding spot. It was once he started balding, he just wasn't as good. I think once he lost his big long locks, it was just the end. That's my theory.
Is that is that a direct correlation, or is that just he's getting old? So
I think pure science. Pure science. What? Totally.
What?
I'd love to do a study of players.
Sorry, I totally fell asleep.
Oh,
I was inviting
Speaking
Tommy.
of
I was
old man.
trying to invite Tommy, but there's Tommy. How you doing, Tommy?
I'm good. How are you guys? Are we almost done here?
I think we're probably closer to the end than to the beginning, but we definitely still have a few things to take care of. I'll throw you right into the fire.
Okay, let's hear it.
Next season, you're on the clock. Let's say you're pick 5, and let's say Steph, KD, Harden, and Kawhi are already gone, and you're deciding between Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. Who are you taking?
Oh, I'm going to go with Anthony Davis. Yes. Yeah. Because he's got a lot of upside. I think we've seen that. I think he's honestly, as much as I'm a non-believer in Anthony Davis momentarily, but let's be real, the guy is really talented. I think he had a couple of injuries that held him back a little bit this year. But come next year, I think he's going to be a little bit more in sync with the system, and he's going to be good to go. I think he's going to go back to his dominant levels. It shouldn't be that much of a big deal. But Russell, on the other hand, I'm not picking Russell because I don't think he's a dominant player. I'm picking him because you know what you're going to get out of Russell because KD's there. So you kind of know he's always going to be limited by KD unless, lo and behold, remote chance KD gets up to go to LA and Russell by his own. Then he should be the number 1 pick because that man's going to do everything on this planet Earth to be a fantasy dime. He might even outscore Steph Curry by sacrificing field goal maybe, but whatever. Fuck it, tank 1 cat, you'll be good to go for 7 other. Why not? including
think the amount
turnovers
of
too.
shots that Kevin Durant would have to take for like you to be taking field goal would result in him scoring like 50 points a game. Like he's pretty darn efficient.
I mean, that man, like, if KD leaves, Russell is left with OKC. He might be able to average like maybe a quadruple double, if not more, with turnovers. I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah, with those
He's
turnovers,
gonna go lights
absolutely.
out. Turnovers, yeah. I mean, we're talking about doubles. Turnovers count. Let's be real. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very possible. But it's interesting that you said that. The upside of Davis versus Westbrook, pretty much you're gonna get what you're gonna get with them, barring an apocalyptic KD signing with the Lakers. We were saying kind of the same thing, comparing Kawhi Leonard to like a Harden or Durant. Like Kawhi has upside still, whereas Harden and Durant probably are what they are. I don't think we were necessarily taking Kawhi over Harden or Durant, but it was an important point to be made, and that's probably a notch in favor of Anthony Davis. And you mentioned also getting used to the system a little more. I think what we've seen, besides the injuries, the main thing that's been off about AD's game has been those percentages, and maybe that's something that comes back to his previous career norms once he's had a full year and another offseason of work with Alvin Gentry's system, whatever you think of said system.
I mean, it's got to be good, right? I mean, he ran the offense in Golden State, right?
You'd think so. I mean, you'd think so, but
well, he left and look at Golden State. I mean, that offense. I mean, how you couldn't have Luke Walton there and it's still running perfectly.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is kind of the eternal debate. People want to give a lot of credit to coaches, but probably an unfortunately high percentage of why teams are good is the personnel who are playing.
I'm not sure Walton calls plays. I think he just sits there with a clipboard. I think he just sits there. I don't even know.
I mean, that's certainly the same accusation could be made of several NBA coaches.
Derek Fisher.
Excellent coach. Hey, the other day, all these people are talking about this Tyronn Lue of Cleveland Cavaliers. The one clip of him I actually saw coaching, it seems like he drew up a play and LeBron just said no. So let's go this way. And I'm like, all right, this guy looks like David Blatt all over again. He's like, okay. I'm like, what happened here? I thought this guy was supposed to be the player's coach and a little bit more, no.
Is the difference that, like, LeBron can tell Tyronn Lue no, but they still like each other afterwards?
Yeah, it must be a really good friendship, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that just means Tyronn Lue is cashing free paychecks. Who wouldn't want that?
That's
LeBron
true.
can yell at me.
That's what I was thinking. Like, you make the best player happy and you're getting head coach money. You got to be off good.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to be the best job.
How is he coaching the East? I don't get how that happened. Like, in the All-Star game?
He's got the best record as coaches.
Oh.
It's so stupid.
Aside from, the only exception is a coach can't coach back-to-back years. So Golden State coached it Kerr coached it last year, which means Golden State can't coach it this year, so now it's Popovich. But next year, if Golden State has the best record, then it'll be Kerr again.
I think Lue coached 0 games before he was essentially promoted to.
Next year, even though they didn't this year, if Popovich was the default coach this year and he would be the rightful coach next year, he's not again.
No, yeah, I guess they wouldn't want a dynasty in which one coach like Phil Jackson would go so many years in a row just coaching it. They gotta give other coaches a.
We're making an all-star game. Who takes it seriously?
Yeah.
I want players to coach all-star games.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to see.
If we're already debating the merits of coaches in real games, I guess we probably shouldn't worry too much about who coaches the All-Star.
You know what Pop should do?
Put Kevin Garnett in there. That'd be hilarious.
Oh God, that would be exciting. I would be so down to see that. To see him just roar all the time. Hey, talking about coaching jobs, what is this rumor about Steve Nash possibly being considered for the Phoenix job? I kind of like that idea just because I get to see Steve Nash somewhere around the basketball court again.
He I guess I was listening to JJ Redick's new podcast earlier today, and he had Jared Dudley on, and Jared Dudley said this, and I think, and JJ Redick said that this was something that anybody else would also tell you, is that Steve Nash is one of the most well-liked players in history. So, Tyronn Lue, maybe that's all it takes is like to be well-liked. So, to that extent, maybe he would be a pretty good coach. He was also a pretty smart guy, people would say, so that could help too. But I don't know how interested he is. I am not inside his soul. But that would be.
So Jeremy Lin has a solid future then.
Presumably, yeah. Do people? I mean, so we figure he's smart. He went to Harvard.
Yeah.
Do people like Jeremy Lin? Does he like him? I haven't
Maybe
heard
him,
anybody
but maybe not his
China.
hairstyle.
No, but like other players, like NBA players. I remember.
I mean, he made a video with Steph Curry. I gotta think he's got some kind of credibility.
I feel like he had a bromance with Chandler Parsons. When
That was funny.
The Rockets.
That
That was good. Yeah.
So, and Chandler Parsons is kind of like a power broker in terms of like NBA friendships, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of looks like a dick to me sometimes, so I don't know why.
I get when he had the mohawk, kind of made him look a little unapproachable.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Like that, oh, I'm the pretty boy kind of thing. I'm also a model on the side, but I ball out too. Like, whatever, bro.
I watched actually the Charlotte game, and the announcers really loved the hair, and they said the fans did too. And you saw all these little kids with spiky afros.
It's a goddamn Asian population, man. Don't let it get to your head.
Charlotte? What? There's Asian people
They're
in
everywhere.
Charlotte?
They're everywhere.
I don't know about that.
Smokey, pull up some statistics on the racial minorities in Central Charlotte.
Yeah, I'll get right on that. No, I'm literally Googling.
I know you were
If
looking
nobody
it up.
says anything else before I pull this up, I'm gonna read the demographics of Charlotte.
Boban sighting. Anyone seen a Boban recently?
We could talk about Boban. I don't know. I mean, he just doesn't get enough minutes, but he's a lot of fun.
Might be too big for his own good.
Too big for his own good. The comp I threw out was Brandon Wright. Fun note, the Spurs have a 5-game week next week, so even in limited minutes, Boban might be great. Well, you look at this guy. Look at his ears. Like, there's something wrong with his ears. Like, his ears are like exploding. Like, it's crazy. But like, the comp I threw out was Brandon Wright. Like, this is a guy who's gonna put up pretty damn good stats in 20 minutes, and then after that, he's just gonna be too tired, and he just can't play that. Like, you just can't whirl around, 300 pounds and 7 feet and 3 inches of burly Boban's man for very long before you just can't do it anymore. But his numbers are crazy. I think let me pull up his per 36 numbers because it sounds kind of lame to just read his per game numbers because of the aforementioned limited minutes. So per 36, Boban is averaging 24 points, 15 rebounds, 2 blocks, and he's shooting 60% from the field.
Good God.
He's averaging almost 6 offensive rebounds per 36 minutes. So if he were a starter, he would be getting more offensive rebounds than like Kyle Lowry's getting rebounds, period. Or like Jay Crowder's getting rebounds, period. This guy's just he's a freak. I mean, he's a freak. Look at his ears. Like, he's a freak.
I'm going to look up a picture.
What is going on?
I've been looking at a picture of
His nose is out of control, too.
His hands as big as my face. It's insane.
His hands are like snowshoes for like Shaq. Like,
Well,
I
think
can't.
he can palm a basketball and think the human head is usually smaller than a basketball. So think of what he could just do to a person. I mean,
Oh, this guy.
I mean, a lot of NBA players can palm a bat. This guy could probably pop it with one hand.
I think he could like pop it into his mouth. Like that's how fucking huge is. Fucking, oh my god.
Oh.
No, but he is exactly what we needed. He's like the new like Chuck Norris or just uber godlike freak thing to just project all of our fantasies of omnipotence onto.
I've never heard Boban described as Chuck Norris, and I think this needs to be put on the internet right now.
Well, I don't. Chuck Norris is kind of played out. I mean, that's just the first thing.
Yeah, he's kind of
in
old.
my head, but like the Chuck Norris, but that's just like the best comparison I could think of. Like the Chuck Norris jokes, like whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, it looks like this Bulls game is tied at 86 with 3 minutes left. So maybe now is a good time to wrap it up. I feel like we've hit on all the key points. We talked about playoff push necessities. We talked about a little bit of draft for next year and some fun stuff. So I would say it's been a good podcast.
Oh, by the way, Daniel D-Wolves got hurt. He's out.
Darren
D-Wolves got injured. So
right, yeah, I saw Darren Williams only played 8 minutes tonight, and then he
went 0 of 5, and somehow Kyle Lowry decided to shoot 3 of 8 from the free throw and 3 of 12 from the field goal, and Kevin Durant decided to have 7 turnovers. Yay!
What?
Like, it was nice seeing you guys this year. I will be with my junk in my hand while you guys enjoy playoffs because I ain't got shit else to do now. So I hope that was not live smoking. That was.
Oh, it's definitely live.
Oh no, we're still live.
Oh.
I was trying to say like any parting thoughts. So I guess
to fellow viewers, my apologies to taking out my frustrations with words that are inappropriate.
No, nobody like. The FCC doesn't regulate this. Like you can say shit, butt, poopy, dick farts. For all I care.
Good. Well, in that case, here's my summary of my season. As it is about to get wrapped up, I'm fucked. All right, so we're good there.
All right. Well.
Because I think I looked over the scenario. I don't think I can afford to lose one game. Like I have to win this week and next week. Otherwise, I'm like, not even. Like, it's not even close. So, GG. It's been good. Take my money. Leave me to dry. It's fine. It's all good.
My money.
You gotta worry about Philippe might still finish ahead of you, though. I mean,
at this point, it doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care. Fuck him. You know what? My demise started with my loss to that guy. So F his soul. Like, I was okay, and I was kind of doing, like, decent, like, winning a couple of games, then boom, comes my loss to Taco, and it was like, I think I dropped 3 in a row, like, following. I was like, what the hell? F that guy.
Oh, he's playing the music.
and on next week's podcast, we're going to have Nate's rant when he gets eliminated from the playoffs.
It happened.